1. The classic latex condom, the standard issue. Guardian. When most people hear the word condom, they're imagining a latex condom, even if they don't know it. Latex is a type of stretchy, flexible rubber that hugs the skin tightly and can expand a surprising amount without tearing. It's cheap, widely available, easy to manufacture, and it's been the global default for decades. Latex condoms work by acting as a thin barrier that blocks semen, vaginal fluids, and blood from passing between partners. That barrier is what prevents pregnancy and dramatically lowers the risk of sexually transmitted infections like HIV, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. When used properly, latex condoms are highly effective, which is why every health organization on Earth recommends them. The real superpower of latex is elasticity. It stretches and clings, which means it's less likely to slip off or break if it's the right size and used correctly. That's why most brands feel similar in texture: smooth, thin, and snug. Inside the wrapper, there's often a bit of lubricant already added to help reduce friction, because friction is the enemy of condoms. But latex has one weakness: some people are allergic to it. That can mean itching, redness, swelling, or discomfort, and in severe cases, real allergic reactions. If someone ever notices irritation that appears where the condom touched them, and it happens repeatedly, it's worth suspecting a latex sensitivity and switching to another material. Latex also does not play well with oil. Any oil-based substance, coconut oil, Vaseline, body oil, certain lotions, breaks down latex and makes it more likely to rip. If something says oil-based, it's latex's mortal enemy. That's why all the condom instructions warn you to stick to water-based or silicone-based lubricants. So, latex condoms are the standard: flexible, protective, widely tested, but not friendly to oil or people with latex allergies. 2. Polyurethane condoms, the plastic-like backup option. Now, let's say latex and your body do not get along. That's where polyurethane comes in. Polyurethane condoms are made from a type of plastic-like material instead of rubber. They're thinner, less stretchy, and a little stiffer, almost like a very thin, clingy plastic film. The cool thing about polyurethane condoms is that they still block fluids effectively, just like latex. They're safe for people with latex allergies and can be used with any kind of lubricant, oil-based, water-based, or silicone-based, because the material doesn't degrade the same way latex does. That makes them very convenient if you don't want to memorize the no oil rule. Because polyurethane doesn't stretch as well as latex, these condoms might feel looser or more baggy if the size doesn't match the user well. That can lead to complaints about sensation or increased risk of slipping if the fit isn't right. Some people say they feel less natural, more like wearing a thin wrapper, while others say they barely notice them and love how thin they are. One more advantage: polyurethane is less affected by temperature, so it can feel less rubbery and more neutral, especially during longer activity. But because they're more expensive to produce, polyurethane condoms often cost more and aren't as easy to find in every store. 3. Polyisoprene condoms, the latex allergy. Friendly cousin polyisoprene condoms sit in a nice middle ground. They're designed for people who can't use latex but still want something that stretches and feels soft rather than plasticky. Polyisoprene is a synthetic rubber, so it behaves more like latex in flexibility and comfort, but doesn't contain the proteins that trigger latex allergies. These condoms often feel very close to latex ones in terms of stretch and sensation, which is why a lot of people with latex sensitivity prefer them over polyurethane. They hug the skin more naturally and don't have that crinkly feel that some plastic-like condomins do. Like latex, polyisoprene does not like oil-based lubricants. Oil can still weaken the material, which means the same rule applies. Stick to water-based or silicone-based lube. If someone switches to polyisoprene because of allergies but keeps using coconut oil, they've basically just swapped one problem for another. The downside is price and availability. Polyisoprene condoms typically cost more than basic latex and might not be in every pharmacy or vending machine, but for comfort plus allergy safety, they're one of the best options out there. 4. Lambskin, natural membrane. Condoms, the old school, half-protective option. Lambskin condoms sound fancy, almost medieval, and in a way they are. They're made from the intestinal membrane of sheep and have been used as condoms for centuries, long before synthetic materials existed. They're still sold today, usually marketed as natural or natural membrane. Here's the important part. Lambskin condoms can prevent pregnancy because they block sperm, but they do not reliably block viruses that cause STIs like HIV or hepatitis. The membrane has microscopic pores that are too small for sperm, but not too small for certain viruses. That means they're absolutely not recommended for STI protection. So why do they still exist? Some people say they feel extremely natural, warm, and sensitive because they conduct heat more like skin. Others prefer them for cultural reasons, or because they react badly to all synthetic materials but don't need STI protection within a trusted, mutually tested relationship. They're also more expensive and less available. So unless someone has very specific reasons and is in a safe STI screen situation, lambskin condoms are more of a niche historical product than a modern health tool. 5. Internal condoms, the female condom, that isn't just for females. Internal condoms, often called female condoms, don't go on a penis at all. They go inside the receptive partner's body, most commonly the vagina, though they can also be used for anal sex with proper guidance. Instead of wrapping around a shaft, they line the inside of the body like a soft protective sleeve. An internal condom is usually made of nitrile or another non-latex material with a ring at each end. The inner ring is squeezed and inserted inside, sitting near the cervix if used vaginally. The outer ring stays outside, covering part of the external genital area. This gives extra coverage, protecting parts that might not be covered by external condoms. One big advantage is that the internal condom gives more control to the receptive partner. They don't have to rely on the other person to wear protection. It can be inserted ahead of time, and it doesn't require the penis to be fully erect to put it on. Internal condoms can feel different, sometimes looser, sometimes more flexible, and they can make a bit more noise due to the material moving. Lubrication usually solves that. And because they're made from synthetic non-latex materials, they're safe for those with allergies and can often be used with different types of lubricants, though it's always best to check the specific product instructions. They're less common, a bit more expensive, and not stocked everywhere, which is why many people don't even know they exist. But they're one of the most underrated tools for safer sex. 6. Ultra-thin condoms. The I forgot it was there illusion. Ultra-thin condoms are still usually made from latex or polyisoprene, but the material is shaved down as much as safely possible. The goal is simple: increase sensitivity while still maintaining protection against pregnancy and STIs. Manufacturers test these rigorously because a thinner wall means less margin for error. If they pass quality standards, they're considered just as protective as regular condoms as long as they're used correctly. People often choose ultra-thin condoms when they complain that condoms ruin the feeling. Thinner ones can help reduce that rubber barrier sensation, but they also require careful handling. If someone is rough opening the packet, uses long nails, or squeezes out air poorly, the reduced thickness can make them more vulnerable to damage from misuse. They're a great option if someone wants protection but also wants maximum sensitivity, as long as they're willing to be careful and use proper lubrication. 7. Extra safe, extra strong condoms, the work boots of protection. On the opposite side of ultra-thin, you have thicker, extra safe, or extra strong condoms. These are made with slightly more material, making them feel sturdier and slightly less sensitive, but more reassuring to people who worry constantly about breakage. They're often recommended for situations where friction is high, where someone is new to using condoms and nervous about tearing them, or when engaging in activities more likely to stress the material. They can also be useful for anal sex, where there's typically more friction and less natural lubrication. Some people prefer to use thicker condoms there, along with plenty of lube, to maximize durability. They might dull sensation just a bit more, but for people who prefer peace of mind over maximum feel, they're a very good choice. 8. Ribbed, textured, and designed for pleasure condoms. Textured condoms have patterns, ribs, dots, swirls, added to the outside, the inside, or both. The concept is simple. More friction and varied surface sensations can enhance pleasure for one or both partners. Ribbed condoms often have raised horizontal bumps along the shaft. Dotted condoms have little raised dots that create focused points of pressure. Some combine both, creating surfaces that feel quite different from smooth condoms. Do they work? For some people, yes. Others feel no major difference or prefer smooth surfaces. Like many things in sex, it depends on the body, preferences, and how the condom is used. One thing to understand is that these designs don't affect the basic job of the condom. As long as they're from reputable brands, they're still tested for breakage and integrity. Underneath the fancy surface, they are still protective barriers. 9. Flavored condoms designed for one thing: Flavored condoms exist mainly for oral sex. They come in mint, strawberry, chocolate, banana, and a variety of questionable dessert flavors that probably should not exist. The flavoring is on the outside surface to make oral contact taste more pleasant. Here's the catch. Flavored condoms often contain sugars or sweeteners in the coating. Those are not ideal for vaginal health because sugar can disrupt the natural balance of bacteria and yeast, which might lead to irritation or infections. So while flavored condoms can technically be used for penetration, many health experts recommend using them just for oral sex and switching to an unflavored condom for anything else. The effectiveness as a barrier remains the same, but the ingredients on the surface are what make them a bit risky for internal use. So they're best treated as a tool specifically for safer oral sex, not a universal condom that does everything. 10. Spermicidal condoms, the extra chemical that isn't always helpful. Some condoms come pre-coated with a spermicide, usually a chemical called non-oxynol 9. The idea is that if a tiny amount of semen escapes or the condom doesn't work perfectly, the spermicide will kill sperm and reduce pregnancy risk. Sounds clever, but in practice, it's not that great. Frequent use of spermicide can irritate the lining of the vagina or rectum. That irritation can actually increase the risk of infections, including STIs, because it weakens the natural protective barrier of the body. For that reason, many health organizations no longer recommend spermicidal condoms as a superior choice, especially not for people who have sex regularly. The condom itself still works as a barrier, but the added chemical can cause more harm than benefit for a lot of people. Unless someone has very specific instructions from a healthcare provider, non-spermicidal condoms are usually a better choice. 11. Glow-in-the-dark and novelty condoms. Fun, but not all. Serious protection. There are condoms that glow in the dark. There are condoms in weird shapes. There are even condoms printed with jokes or patterns. These fall into the novelty category. Some novelty condoms are still fully tested and approved for protection. Others are sold purely as gag gifts or party props and may even say on the box, not for actual use. That means they might not meet safety standards and shouldn't be relied on for pregnancy or STI prevention. Glow-in-the-dark versions that are approved usually have a standard condom layer underneath and a safe glowing layer on top. But they tend to be more expensive and sometimes thicker, so they're more of an occasional fun choice, not an everyday solution. The main rule is simple. If it's not clearly labeled as meeting safety standards and approved for actual sexual use, it is not a real condom. It's a toy. 12. Size variations, slim, regular, large, and Y. Fit actually matters. Beyond type and material, condoms also come in different sizes. This is not about ego, it's about safety and comfort. If a condom is too tight, it can feel uncomfortable, cut off circulation, and be more likely to tear. If it's too loose, it's more likely to slip off or bunch up, which can compromise protection. Just like shoes, the best condom is the one that fits properly, not the one with the flashiest label. Regular size fits most, but not everyone. There are snugger fits for those who find standard condoms baggy, and there are larger fits for those who find standard condoms uncomfortably tight. None of this is an insult, it's just proper engineering. Someone who thinks condoms always hurt or condoms always fall off is often not actually having a condom problem. They're having a size problem. 13. How condoms actually fail and why. Type matters, less than technique. A lot of people blame the condom when something goes wrong, but most condom failures come from incorrect use. Putting it on inside out, not pinching the tip, using oil with the latex, not leaving space at the reservoir, not rolling it down fully, using a damaged or expired one, or wearing two at once, which makes friction more intense and more likely to cause tearing. The type and brand matters, but method matters more. A cheap latex condom used correctly is usually far safer than an expensive ultra-thin condom used carelessly. Learning how to open condoms gently, roll them on properly, use enough compatible lubricant, and remove them without spilling is just as important as choosing what kind to buy. 14. Storage. Expiry and why. Your wallet is not a condom case. No matter how advanced the material, condoms don't last forever. They are affected by heat, friction, sunlight, and time. Each condom has an expiration date printed on the packet. Using one past that date is like eating food past its moldy stage and just hoping for the best. Keeping condoms in a car, in a wallet, or in a pocket for months means they're getting warmed, squished, and rubbed constantly. That weakens the material before it's even used. A better choice is to store them in a cool, dry place like a drawer or a small container and take them with you only when needed. Different condom types have different shelf lives, but if it has a date on it, that date matters. Even the best material in the world can't defeat time. 15. The quiet power of condoms. What they really do for you. At the end of the day, every type of condom, regardless of brand and special effects, is trying to do the same basic job: keep body fluids from mixing in ways that cause pregnancy or infection. Latex, polyisoprene, polyurethane, internal condoms, ultra thin, extra strong, textured, flavored, sized up, sized down, all of them are variations on the same core idea: a barrier. The best condom is the one that fits, feels okay for both partners, is used correctly, and doesn't cause irritation or allergy. There's no single perfect option for everyone. There's only the one that works best for you and the person you're with. Condoms aren't just things you buy at the last minute. They're literally tiny pieces of life planning. They protect futures, not just bodies.